Hey folks, welcome back. So today we're going to be doing a video about how to replace a broken forward assist. Now this is me recording the first time. I haven't done this. I don't even know if this will work. But the thing that makes it unique though is because this is here, as you can tell, this is the XM177 model, right? And so the forward assist, the part that allows you to push the bolt forward, if it's jammed, that part is broken, so it's missing here, as you can tell. It fell out. It just simply broke one day, and it just kind of broke right off. Now, the interesting thing is that yes, you can buy forward assists. They're readily available. However, as you can see here, the forward assist on M16A1s and as well as the XM177, it's more of a teardrop forward assist rather than the circular ones. And this one is a little bit harder to find, especially if you want it to be unique to this model, because you can find, the round ones that you'll see on like M41s or more of the later versions of the AR-15 platforms to replace them. And WE does make them, and you can buy those, and you'll know for sure that those will fit into here. But that's not that great. Why don't we see if we can do better than that, and we'll put this aside because we don't, this is obviously busted right now. The forward assist should look something like this when it's not broken. This is a DPMS Panther Arms real steel version. We're going to see if this really works in it or not, but in theory it should look more like this. This obviously broke off, as you can tell. Parts of it are still in the gun itself, so I have to remove it actually, but this is what it should look like. Now you'll notice here that the spring right here, this is the real steel spring here, comparing that to this spring here. So obviously there's a huge difference right there, and it looks like the diameter of this spring is larger than this one right here. So I wonder if that's really going to play a role in how that affects it or not. So we'll find out. First things first though, we have to remove the broken pieces out of the gun before we can replace it. We start by basically punching out this roller pin right here, and then hopefully that will allow the rest of the parts to be removed. Okay, so I have this here. I don't really have a hammer with me, but I'm going to use this $80 bolt that I've never been able to get to fit in this gun, and we'll make good use of it right now. Let's see here. As you can see, that's coming out at the bottom right here. This pin, it's funny because the roller pin on the real steel is, as you can see here, it's more of an empty, it's a roller pin, right? So it's more, it's like a curled metal sheet. I don't know how to best describe it. Whereas this one right here is actually more of like a solid steel piece. Okay, so hopefully that's alright, so I'm not really able to pull it all the way out. I don't have a punch that's long enough to really send it all the way out. But it was enough to knock it down to the point where at least I can pull all the contents out that's broken. Alright, so I was kind of a moron. The reason why I wasn't coming out of the pin is because these pins are threaded on the edge there. So this one has all these edges, so that's why it prevents it from coming out that way. So instead of knocking it down, you're supposed to knock it up. So the pin will knock it up that way, and now it's loose right now. So one thing at a time, right? Again, like I said, this is me, first time me doing this, so we're kind of learning together as we're doing it. So this is what I have after removing all of that. Just put this aside for a second. I now, whoops, probably more pieces broke there. This is the original part right here. It kind of supposed to assemble in with these pieces right here. So these are all the parts that shatter. And it's weird how that broke off because, again, this is not really essential for the functioning of the gun. I mean, it does function and it does push the bolt forward, but without it, you don't really need it. You can always just kind of cycle the bolt forward if it does ever jam. or needs to be pushed forward. But anyway, it kind of is supposed to look like this, right? And you compare that to the real steel, which kind of looks like that. Now there's another piece down here that also goes down on the bottom part here. But man, that thing just like, I don't know what happened. And it's funny because I wasn't even actuating the forward assist. It kind of just, you know, fell apart on its own and just fell out. So that was kind of odd. But, you know, it's pretty cheap metal right there. This one right here is a lot more reliable, I think. More durable pieces right there. So let's try to see if at least this will fit. I'm getting the feeling now that this isn't going to work. All right. So I was trying to figure out how to get this to work, but let's start with the basics first, because I didn't even know this. In the original, let me take out the spring so it's easier to see. The pin that we've been trying to hammer out that we weren't able to get out holds this whole forward assist piece by locking it right here. So when you push it in, it goes like this, but the pin, my finger here represents the pin. It prevents it from going all the way out. So when you push it in, as long as the pin locks onto this part, you know, you can push it in and it won't move. When you punch out the pin, the spring pushes all that way out. In the real steel, this is the DPMS forward assist right here. You'll notice though that it's not as dramatic, right? Whereas the last time you can see this huge gap, this one doesn't have a very huge gap on it. So, but it still has the same principle. So let's see if we can get this pin here to lock onto that part right here and maybe not cause it to slip out. So I'm not even sure if it will really work. Again, notice the gap difference here. So look how much bigger that gap is. Whew, huge gap. But, you know, it works in the real steel, so maybe it'll work in here too. So let's try it. When I read the instructions, actually, of how to change out the AR-15 forward assist, it did say that they recommend you separate the upper and lower receiver so it's easier. And I think I should have done that because it would have saved me a little bit more trouble. So let's remove these parts right here, set this aside, and then we'll try it again by installing it this way so we can get a little more. We can leave this in place, but basically now we have the bolt, it's not in the way. Alright, so let's try that again. Pin is completely out now. I'm going to insert the pin. So there's some serious overlap here. I'm going to use the original, or sorry, the real steel roller pin and see if I can put it in here. I don't think this is going to fit actually because it looks like I can still see there's not a clear slot for me to drop it in because basically it looks like the gap is not big enough like we showed earlier, so I don't know if I'll be able to put the roller pin in, but let me try to, maybe if I can jam it in it might work. Shoot, yeah, I need a smaller pin. So basically what's happening right now is that think of this hole right here as this pin right here, this hole right here, okay? Instead of having that, you know, that gap we were talking about, right here, the pin's supposed to hold on to, let me remove the spring. When it's in the gun, that little small gap right there, this pin is supposed to keep it in place. So when you push it in, it's like this, but when you let go, this pin blocks it from flying straight out. The problem though is this hole here, right? When you insert the forward assist, it's blocking, even when you push it all the way in, it's blocking the hole. So I'm not able to put in the pin. Ideally, it should be like this and out of the way so that you can insert the pin and it'll still be able to lock back. So you would need a smaller pin in order to do so, and this pin here isn't going to work. I'm going to have to try to figure out a different way to get this to fit. Alright, so this is a little ghetto. This pin is too large because the gap is not aligned correctly like in the real steel. There's a mismatch there. So that pin will not fit in, won't be able to hold it in. There is a gap, and I think what we can do is we can use a staple. I took a staple and straightened it out, And this staple might actually be thin enough to hold it in. And what we'll do is basically, if it does work, we'll just hold it in with a staple, and then we'll try to bend the staple so that it would stay in. Let's see here. Oh, look at that. The staple holds it in. So this is pretty ghetto, right? But we'll try. Oh, okay. Hold on. Maybe it's a couple more staples. Maybe a paper clip. Okay, we're getting closer. A staple was too small. It fit and it'll hold it for a brief second, but because it's too thin, occasionally the gap isn't that big, and so occasionally, I'm trying to get on the camera, the staple is holding it like this, right? But sometimes it'll move around, it'll just slip right out. So what if we did something a little bit larger, like a paper clip, right? We'll put it in this way, and this should be large enough, but it's still smaller than the roller pin, so that it'll be able to fit in there. So let's try this staple, or this paper clip right here. Hopefully this will work. We're getting closer. I know we can make something happen out of this. Let's see here. Okay, it's a tight squeeze, but I think, come on. There we go. Look at that. Perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna try to move it around a little bit to make sure it doesn't, doesn't fall out. Okay. So we found our solution. Yeah, but that just looks silly, right? Having a staple hanging out right there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some wire cutters, hopefully, and be able to see if we can cut that off, and maybe just bend it up to the side a little bit. But that's probably really the best thing we can do. Or you can try to find maybe a smaller. You go to the hardware store and find maybe a smaller retaining pin, or sorry, a roller pin, because you want to find one the size of a staple, or sorry, a paper clip, basically. I got some wire cutters right here, and this is used to cut guitar strings, really. So let's see if it will still cut something like staples. So let's try it right here. Easy peasy, like that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to cut it just enough to leave some room so I could bend it to the sides. Again, this is super ghetto, I know, but if you're really trying to get that tier. Okay. So now that that's all cut, right? I'm going to now. So notice how it's like jutting out, the white staple right there, or a paper clip. I keep saying staple. So basically now I'm just going to bend it so that it stays in place. This isn't the first time, by the way, that I'm using office supplies to hold this gun together. If you remember, this new bolt, and this new bolt carrier group is from WE. Despite that, the retaining pin that's used to hold the nozzle and the bolt face, so to speak, didn't fit into this hole here. So I actually had to use two staples right there to hold in that bolt carrier group, or the bolt face. And so basically I took two staples, straightened them out, and linked them together like that, and then they're running cross through this bolt, and then I just bent the edges so to keep them into place. So that's a staple right there. Works perfectly, doesn't jam the gun or anything at all, but that was obviously inside the gun, so you wouldn't ever notice that. But in this case, you kind of do see it hanging out right there, right? And but look at that, it works nicely. So I think it's pretty good. No issues so far. So I'm going through a lot of length just to retain the teardrop shape of a real steel forward assist right now. Looks like the material is a lot better, obviously, than the original that it came with. But that's you know, it makes you wonder that with this thing sticking out a little bit, you know, is it worth it just to retain the teardrop of a real steel, or should you just pay the same amount basically to get the WE version that's circular, that's more of an M4 A1 or the later series? So it's up to you, really. I kind of just want to do this for more information purposes and just to see if it really works. Honestly, you know, if I had to pay for it, I really wouldn't want to just pay 16 bucks for a forward assist, which I never really use anyway. It doesn't really affect the function of the gun for the most part. But I am interested to see how real steel parts fit into this receiver right here. So again, this was a DPMS original Panther Arms forward assist set. So as you saw here, it's not a direct drop in place, but you know, with some slight changes, you could get it to work. So I think this is a pretty reasonable project to try and do it if you want to retain it. And then if you go to the store and you're able to find a smaller roller pin, I think it will be a more permanent solution rather than this right now. But that's just my take on it for now. Looks pretty good. Let's actually try to put it back into let's try to put it back into the gun and see if you know, it does its job. Not just okay. Great. Might not even fit. Oh, there we go. Whew. Okay. So if it works right, you should be able to push the bolt forward using this forward assist. So let's see if it does that. Yes. Very good. So it does exactly how it's supposed to perform. Of course, this thing's in the way, so there we go. So if it was jammed, for some reason it wasn't fully going to battery, press the forward assist. There we go. Now it's in place. So it works. A little bit of you know, play, but hey, not bad. All right, folks. Hope you all found this kind of entertaining. You know, if y'all have any better suggestions or maybe where to get more roller pins that might fit this, let me know in the comments section. I'd love to. You guys, you know, say a lot of good ideas down there, and we try to do it. So kind of cool, huh? We preserved it. The teardrop forward assist, used a real steel part in this, and it still works. Thanks a lot, folks. See y'all next time.